Joining us now from Nevada is the second gentleman of the United States, Doug Emhoff. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Great to be here, Lawrence. Thank you so much.
So you have been speaking on the campaign trail, also knocking on doors, sometimes, I think today maybe knocking on doors. What has surprised you the most when you meet people out there in the campaign trail, especially when you go up to knock on a door?
You know, you're never sure what you're going to get, and what you're seeing is the passion, the enthusiasm, but also the emotion. And people are really getting what the policies that she's talking about are going to mean to them. Just today, I met a veteran who was literally in tears, thinking about what would happen to him and his life if his benefits were taken away, Social Security, Medicare, veterans benefits. Got very emotional. And he's going out there knocking on doors himself, trying to get his community here in Las Vegas to get behind Kamala Harris. I had a Republican actually run out their door. I hadn't even knocked on that door and just said, hey, I'm a Republican voting for Kamala Harris. You know, I'm choosing country over party, which is the message that we're getting out there. I spoke to another young woman, Puerto Rican descent, was so outraged by what had gone on at that rally. And she said the future starts on November 5th. And so the message is getting out there. People not only can see Kamala Harris as president, but listening to what she's saying, the words that are uniting us, being a president for everyone, you're really feeling it on the ground, not only here in Nevada, but I've been, Lawrence, traveling for almost 15 straight weeks, and it's the same thing everywhere I go.
Yeah, you know, in those 15 straight weeks, the Vice President of the United States has given the most important speech of her life a few times. The next one always becomes the most important one, as we saw this week at the Ellipse. And at the end of that speech, when she delivered what clearly was, at that point, the most important speech of her life, and probably will remain so. It's probably unlikely there'll be a bigger one than that before the end of the campaign. The very first voice she hears is your voice. You are that first person after those giant moments in her life. What did you say to her when you got out there on the stage with her after that speech?
I looked her in the eyes, not only as her husband, but also as a proud American who just felt like I was seeing the President of the United States. I just looked her in the eyes and I said, I am so proud of you and I love you so much. And it was, again, as you said, Lawrence, every single time that she's needed to step up, she's exceeded incredibly high expectations, whether it was, the launch in July, whether it was her DNC speech, whether it was the debate against Donald Trump, and now. And she's just kept doing it the entire time. And again, my pride for her is not only as a husband, but also as someone who loves this country and wants a president that we can look up to, somebody who can be a president for all of us, and somebody that the world can respect up on the world stage. And I think that speech on the Ellipse, it just took the stain of January 6th right out of there. And up there you saw her as president. You can just see it, the way she looked, the way she sounded, and that is what I'm seeing out here in these final days of this campaign.
You know, I would also observe that you are offering America, especially young men in America, a moment on that stage in particular after that speech that I think could be very important to them in the age of Trump, and that is the model of a man demonstrating how to support the women in his life, the woman in his life. And the way, even the way you feature her as you walk off that stage, you're trying to step out of the frame almost and say to the audience it's about her.
Well, look, I love her very much, and sometimes when I get asked questions like this, I'm a little surprised because I think it's kind of the height of being a man is to support those you love, including your wife. And so for me, it's very natural. This is what I do, but she supports me just the same way I support her. And I had a great career, as you know, Lawrence. You've talked about it, and I miss it at times. But to be able to step away to support her as vice president, and now hopefully as our next president, I do it gladly, without any bitterness or anger. And then she's there for me. And as second gentleman, I've been able to lean into this role for 4 years, just as I expect to lean into the role as the first gentleman.
Well, your wife, the vice president, has had to help you, obviously, in a role that no man in history has ever played before. How has she helped you in this unique role in the White House as second gentleman?
Immensely. When I had to step away from my career, when she got tapped by Joe Biden to be on the ticket in August of 2020, I didn't realize that was the last day I practiced law. So when they took office, at first it was a little bit of a struggle, frankly, to figure out what I would do, what my role would be. But it was Kamala Harris who was the one who pushed me into issues like fighting anti-Semitism and hate. I'm the first Jewish person ever to be a White House principal. That was really her up until this very day, continuing to push me out in the face of so much hate and anti-Semitism, to use that platform to speak out. And on the issues of gender equity, especially after the horrific Dobbs decision, I've been out there front and center advocating for women's rights and reproductive freedom and freedom writ large, because that issue affects all of us, not just women. And she's the one who's pushed me out there to do it. And also things that I didn't think I would be able to do on the ceremonial side. She said, just lean into it and have fun. That's part of the job too. And I've done that gladly, and I'll do that as first gentleman.
The one thing you had going for you is no man had ever done it better before. So you had that standard. I want to ask you about Monday. You gave a very important speech against anti-Semitism, and particularly citing the hatred, racism, and anti-Semitism that was present at the Madison Square Garden Trump rally. And I just want to read for the audience who didn't take in all of that, just one statement that was made from that microphone saying the whole effing party, meaning the entire Democratic Party, this is not Trump speaking, it's one of his speakers, a bunch of degenerates, lowlives, Jew haters, and lowlives, every one of them, every one of them. And that means the vice president, and it means you.
It's outrageous, it's disgusting, and it's just inappropriate. And anyone who wants to be president of the United States and does not condemn that, which I'm sure Trump did not, is unfit to be president of the United States, period. Full stop. And this is just yet more of the gaslighting and the lies and the disinformation, this, like I've been calling this Trumpian fog, to distract the American people from what's right in front of their face. Again, you've got somebody in Trump who had the job, was terrible, degrading before our very eyes, unfit for any job, let alone president of the United States. And you have Kamala Harris, who was ready to be president, commander-in-chief on day one, will never denigrate her fellow citizens. She has said this repeatedly. She's going to be president for all of us, whether you voted for her or not, and she means it.
Also, in your speech on Monday, you said, referring to the quotes that we've learned from John Kelly, Donald Trump's White House chief of staff, he looks at Adolf Hitler's generals and sees something to admire. Let that sink in. You said that to a Jewish audience. When you let it sink in, when you hear John Kelly on tape quoting Donald Trump, saying that Donald Trump said, quote, Hitler did some good things, when you let that sink in, how do you feel?
Well, all of us should feel the same way. We should all be chilled to the bone that somebody who was president of the United States was saying these things behind closed doors to an esteemed four-star general in General Kelly. That should chill every single American to the core, that this man seeks the office once again. And it's not just General Kelly. You heard what General Milley said, calling him a fascist to the core. I mean, this is who he is. So again, people, we can't fall for the gaslighting, the disinformation, misinformation. Please look what is right in front of your eyes. Somebody, again, We cannot have a president who admires Adolf Hitler. We just can't. We need to move forward. We need to turn the page, and we have somebody in Kamala Harris who's going to be there for all of us, will never let us down, is someone we can look up to, who we'll be proud of.
We just have time for one more question, and that is, how do you feel when Donald Trump attacks your wife personally? I don't mean politically. I don't mean about policy. I mean when he attacks your wife's intelligence, when he talks about your wife's race, when Donald Trump says these very specific, insulting things about your wife. When that sinks in, how do you feel?
Well, as a husband, it pisses me off, but as a first gentleman, someone who hopes to be the first gentleman married to the next president of the United States, we cannot be distracted by it. So no matter how I feel about it as her husband, I've got to put it to the side so we don't get distracted. So we focus on this mission of getting her elected, and that's what we've done for these 14 and a half weeks. That's what we're going to do for these next 4 or 5 days, because we know how important this election is, and we put everything we had into this. Our family has put everything into this, and like she's been there for me and my family, she's going to be there for you and your family, so we're not going to let anything get in our way. This is the only thing we talk about. This is the only thing we focus on. Our happy couple time will wait until after the election, and we're not going to let anything stop her from getting the truth out there and making sure that she is elected as the next president.
Second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, thank you so much for making the time for us tonight.
Great to see you, Lawrence. Thank you.
Thank you.